Nice, and we're live. Hello everyone, welcome to another Spec 3.0 meeting. So this time we actually have a bit of an empty agenda, but I bet there will be plenty added during the meeting, or I have the feeling. So before getting into it, does anyone have anything they want to say or add before getting into it? No? Okay. Does anyone have anything they want to discuss regarding Spec 3.0? Fran is eager to get started, I see. Floor is yours then.
Let me find. I'm just trying to find the issue where, where we have listed everything, work on 3.0 release, and just so I don't make any mistakes. But yeah, I will actually like to propose that we remove stuff from 3.0. I mean, not from 3.0, but that we don't release these things on 3.0. Siema, Heniu. Siema, Heniu.
Siema, Heniu.
Siema, Heniu. I'm getting better one day. So yeah, specifically, there's one assigned to you, Jonas. That is this one about allow referencing non-JSON structures such as protobuf, XML.
Fran, sorry, just to disturb you. Like, can you send the link?
No, I can't.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
All right, let me share. So here's the issue where I'm looking at, and I think there is no issue specifically. There should be one, but I think it was closed. I tried once and then I closed it. So, like, I don't know, 3 years ago probably. So I don't remember. Anyway, so there's this issue, and if you scroll down to the second one in the list of under progress, it says allow referencing non-JSON structures such as protobuf, XML, XSD, etc. So yeah, there is some work that already started around it, right? Specifically discussions about $ref minim, $ref augmentation, right? The meaning of augmenting the meaning of $ref. So right now what happens is that $ref is just for JSON structures. So we cannot use $ref as is. But yeah, one way is that we augment it. We augment its meaning, let's say, and we end up with a new mechanism to reference any kind of structure, data structure, not just JSON. But yeah, that's a huge one, right? Because I don't know if it's a discussion that is linked there. Yeah, it's the one there. There's one discussion linked there that says reference tooling discussion and requirements. If you go to that discussion that Jonah started, this is, I'm going to share the link.
I already shared it.
Okay, thanks. So this discussion is huge. As you can imagine, it has lots of edge cases and probably is not even considering everything. So yeah, so I see this whole topic as something that probably will deserve its own major version by itself, right? One day, right? Maybe version 4. But yeah, like I see it like it's just it's just it's just gonna be complex to get it done by April or May or June, sorry, because it's too much. And if we just accept that we're gonna include it, then we're not gonna be releasing version 3. We're not gonna be releasing version 3 in the first half of next year for sure. If we include this one, because that's gonna that alone it's gonna require a lot of testing and trying and see, and tooling development as well, and yeah, it's gonna take time. So yeah, thoughts about it, specifically you, Jonas, that were working on that.
I think I'll leave the floor to others first, and then I can get back to it after.
Yeah.
If there is any.
Yeah. So using ref for protobuf and others, it's not the only way we can do it, right? To point to protobuf, for example, because I mean, we can just have shit. Wait. Excuse me. I'm not gonna go into details like what other options are there, but first of all, I don't think it will trigger for 0. Like we can just have a parallel, I mean, additional solution next to the ref object. We can always say that you can have ref object or some other object that you can use to reference other schemas. And what else? If it comes to limiting the scope, I mean, if we really like for making $ref to support protobuf and others, like we can forget about having 3.0 pretty soon. So I would definitely suggest that we explore other options if we want to have it for 3.0. But for me, I'm a fan to having 3.0. 3.0 that only is focused on breaking changes. So we are not adding new features if they can be added later without breaking 3.0, and we're only focusing on this core stuff that actually triggered the whole discussion about 3.0, because 3.0 was triggered by publish subscribe basically, and the delimitation of current structure of the document. Request and reply was kind of added, but it's super advanced, so it can go into 3.0. But with referencing, that's not something that we have to have for 3.0, especially that like still not really many people come with protobuf. Again, it's just few people coming and asking about it, not a lot. So my opinion is we can definitely limit the scope, but the question is it the only candidate for limiting the scope, or you're only concerned by this $ref or also others?
Yeah, one thing before I go into this, so I would like to add this, like I would like to scope 3.0 breaking changes mainly, but also add in some additional features like request response, right? So that people feel encouraged to migrate, right? But at the same time, it's like we're releasing very, very frequently, right? More or less like every 3 months, 2 or 3 months, right? So, so if something is not in the spec on 3.0, it will be on 3.1, right? Or on 3.2, a few months after. So that is not a problem, right? And it will let us start already, like getting 3-0 out, right? So yeah, so just I would like just to add that. And the other one, the other candidate, and this is probably a breaking change, and I don't see any other way to do it, is the one that Maciek was proposing, I think. Yeah, proposal to allow defining schema format other than the default one. I think it's this one, yeah. So on the schemas, so on components schemas, not only have JSON schema or schema objects, right? But to have something else, to have, I don't know, avros there, or to have eventually protobufs there as well, or whatever other kind of schemas, right?
Yeah.
So that one as well seems like a very innocent one, but on the surface, but when it comes to, especially when it comes to tooling, and how, not to tooling, but specifically when it comes to how things reference to each other and composition, like, are you allowed to have, for instance, inside an avro object to have a reference to a JSON schema object? How is it going to work, right?
Yeah.
If that's the case, complexity is like goes to the moon, right? Basically. So yeah, so I mean, that's not a problem that can actually be discussed. But yeah, seeing the state of it, I'm just like thinking that maybe this can be added later. So yeah. And what else I had in mind? I think that's
but
it.
this one, it's as far as I remember, I mean, we didn't discuss it for long, but as far as I remember, it's actually related to breaking changes, right?
Yeah, because we
it's a
want
breaking
to
change. Yeah.
we want to remove the schema format from message object and move to the exactly the schema object.
Yeah.
It's one of the breaking change exactly.
Yeah, so that's why I was saying, like, I don't know how we could add this later, but without a breaking change. But yeah.
Yeah, but we can always have the fallback, yes, on message schema format. It's an option, but
I mean, that's one way. The other way is that we just go for 4.0. That's okay. That's completely fine.
with
We should-
referencing, yeah.
we should, yeah, together with referencing and so on. I mean, we shouldn't be afraid of that. If that's the case, like, I don't think it's going to take less than a year, to be honest, to develop this and to finish all of this, right? Only these two. So seeing how much it took us to complete the rest of the list, which is way simpler to implement, I think these two are probably just one more year. Assuming we don't go the $ref way, assuming we implement our own, I don't know, ref without dollar or link or include or something like that, whatever. So assuming we create our own mechanism and we have complete freedom to do it. If we assume that it's going to take, if we're going to use $ref, then it's probably more than, it's going to take 3 years or more. So easily, because that will involve JSON schema and other communities as well. So that's not going to be easy. So yeah, but yeah, like coming back to this specific issue about the schema formats, I'm happy to include it, but I'm seeing that we might be including too much for version 3.
But why is, like, because this issue, we discussed it some time ago, like, is it just why it's stale actually? Like, is it just because of us not reviewing, or?
No, at the moment I don't have time for it, but as I remember, in the previous discussion about this issue, this proposal, we conclude that probably we wanna only allow to define the different schemas on the component schemas level, and that's it. So you shouldn't have the possibility to define the nested custom schemas. Combine this Avro with JSON schema, something like that, and then you can only make the reference to the message payload from the component schemas, of course. And so that's it. But yeah,
don't you already have the problem of cross-referencing standards now?
so yeah,
I mean, that problem is not new, so to say. At least I don't think so. The only thing that issue kind of solves is that we can use the component section for other formats.
Mhm.
You would still like it's the same problem with cross-referencing and between standards still. It's not that we create the problem by having this feature, I don't think.
No, we don't, but we make it easier. We make
Yes,
it easier.
that's true.
And probably we make it easier, and people might understand that it's completely fine and possible because they're just there, right? They're just in the same document.
Yeah,
So,
but it's just about writing that it's not. And
exactly.
That's it.
So one option is just explicitly saying that that's not allowed, and that should not be supported by parsers and so on. So that will trigger an error basically. So yeah, that's why I'm saying like I'm fine with that one if we reduce the scope, and especially about cross-referencing, right? And we make it clear, because otherwise cross-referencing stuff is
it's a no-go. Just don't do it.
it sounds powerful but useless to me. Like it's powerful, but at the same time it's like, why will I want to combine different kinds of schema languages? But
It sounds like a headache.
And a lot of headache on the tooling side specifically, especially that Avro is not and JSON schema are not the same kind of thing. So Avro is to define the structure of an object, is a data model language, and JSON schema is a data constraint language, right? So it's not about data modeling, even though we use it as such. But so they will not combine well. So yeah, I have another. I mean, on the other hand, I have another proposal that I never proposed yet.
to remove the support, to custom schemas.
No. I have another proposal, but it's completely unrelated. But since we're talking about breaking changes, this one will create a breaking change, and it's dropping support for, or let's say dropping the default support, or the default schema object will not be JSON schema, right? The default schema definition language will be something else. I don't know, Avro or something else, or this JTD or whatever, a schema definition language, actually a schema modeling language, not JSON schema that is actually meant for something else, or a vocabulary of JSON schema, which could also work, reduced for schema definition language. And then separating, for instance, payload will be separated by the definition and the validation, right? So this is the definition of the payload chunk, right? So it will have these fields here, and additionally, you can have another field optionally that is called validation, and there you can throw your JSON schema, right? Which will be used to validate your payload if you want to, but. So it's not completely dropping support for JSON schema. It's not it's not so much about dropping completely the support of JSON schema, even in definition. You will be able to specify explicitly in the schema format that you want to use JSON schema for the definition. Then it's up to you. You'll find unexpected consequences like we're finding now. And yeah. But I on purpose didn't propose anything, but yeah. So I'm saying because I have more ideas. I have more ideas that I'm keeping myself like on purpose so that I don't overwhelm version 3 and the discussions, right? So we can follow. And then once 3.0 is out, I will make a few proposals that will break again the spec, right? So probably, not probably, going for 4.0. Not,
Yeah.
not urgent at all, for sure. Not urgent. Not like the one that we had at hand with publish subscribe that was a little bit more urgent, I would say. These ones are just like we can be with major version sorry major version 3 for years. I don't care if this schema is there for years for definition or not. So it's not the big problem. It's not causing actually big problems. So yeah. Just saying this, that yeah, that maybe we shouldn't be afraid of releasing major versions as well.
So getting back to your question, the first one regarding reducing the scope.
Yes.
I think it makes sense, but I've never had the thought that the referencing stuff had to be included in Spec 3.0 because it kind of depended on so many different things.
But
Yes,
on the list. Right?
I'm working on it,
Okay.
but it's more let's see what happens, and otherwise it's not gonna be included because it all depends on how much discussion are gonna happen, how much progression, etc., etc.
Okay.
So
Yeah, that makes sense.
from,
Yeah.
so from my point of view, it's still getting started, and the discussion is probably going to happen way after 3.0 is released. I have a feeling it's going to be that because it's, as you said, it's not that easy, especially if you want tooling alongside it as well. So I get that maybe we should just remove it from the list, and then I'll start an issue specifically for discussing that, allowing referencing non-JSON standards and keeping everything there, and then I remove it from the list. I'm totally fine with that.
And to be honest, like when it comes to sorry, Lucas, you wanted to say something. Yeah.
I mean, basically questioning word scope. I wanted to question word scope because it's released like any other. Jonas is release coordinator, and we never had scopes for releases. It's just about like it's like what we're doing now and what template is followed by Jonas. It's just basically the usual release. So there are candidates. It's not that we scoped like that. I don't know, like maintainers scoped the release to some number of issues. Like it's there on the list. It's a possible candidate because it has a champion, and champion is aware of the fact that we are gonna release 3.0 in a few months. So the champion can work on it. Like if he has time to do it, I mean, continue, like, but it should not block releasing, right? So wouldn't it be just better, like, because we, I mean, at least my feeling is that we really want to release next year, right? I think we can agree on this, like 3.0 is next year.
Yeah.
And from our experience, September is not a good time for release if it comes to our windows, because September is right after holidays. Nobody gives a shit about working on holidays, so we can already forget about September, that we will have some extra time. So why not just saying, I mean, and I'm suggesting it to release coordinator. Why not just saying, like, let's say we have 4 windows, right? We have April, June, September, actually January, April. Why not saying like, okay, so we have, we want to release next year, and we say that like April is deadline for candidates to reach, I don't know which RFC, let's say 3, 2, something to discuss. And then if you reached a stage in April that allows you to merge, then you're getting in. You have extra time to get the implementation in parser, JSON schema, and we're planning release on June. So we have a lot of time to work on tooling, but we basically set some, maybe we should just set some deadline, like not hard deadline, but like a so-called gentleman agreement, like folks, like that's a deadline,
actually,
because like we don't really have scope. That's what I'm basically meaning. That's what I basically mean.
yeah, actually a hard deadline, but of a month, right? So it's not that hard, right? So it's like we can agree like a month. I don't know, on March you should have out of C3 ready, and then yeah, because we want to release in June, so we need at
April.
least 3 more months to not just to implement tooling, but to give people the opportunity to test it and test it with companies to see if it works as intended or if it's creating more problems that we didn't foresee. So yeah, I agree with that. I will actually go a little bit farther and restrict changes to the spec. I mean, not changes to the spec, changes that go into async API 3 February. So whatever is not in February,
January, I mean.
now whatever is not, so if your proposal doesn't reach out of C3 in February, right, in the month of February, it will not make it to version 3.0, because the month doesn't have to be related to the release month. You know, the deadline can be something else, right?
Yeah.
So that at least have a few more months. I would like to properly test this version, to be honest, like with companies before we release it.
Yeah, this actually also goes into the discussion about whether we should have a freeze period for the release process. So it's actually just straight hand in hand with what you're saying, and I think it's a good idea that we try one, see what happens. Let's say that it's 2 months before release, so that will mean that end of February there's no new change that can happen for the spec, and then the rest is implementation wise and tooling. And let's just see how it goes.
I mean, just to be clear, you can keep working on the spec, but it's not.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Your thing is not gonna make it into the 3.0 version. So you can keep adding stuff to the spec, but it's gonna end up on 3.1, right? Not on 3.0. So
yes.
So they're not gonna be merged until we release version 3.0, right?
Exactly.
So yeah, it is just so we have some time to test it. So between February and let's say May, right? Because I'm not counting June, because June is at some point in June it will be released. So we know that it's probably going to be on 30th of June, right? Not on the 1st of June, but yeah, could be potentially 1st of June, right? So some counting until May, so that we have 3 months, right? 3 months period, and or 3 months and a half, or more or less, and then we try to involve as many companies and people as we can to migrate to version 3, or to early adopt version 3 candidate, of course, right? The release candidate that we have at that time. And so we have 3 months of fixing stuff, right? Of opportunities to fix stuff, right? To make some patches here and there, clarifications, things like this. Now new features.
Sense. What if I make a new issue for just this discussion about hard deadlines for release of 3.0, and we can keep the discussion there and take a decision within some time period?
We're gonna make this decision before Christmas.
Okay.
No. Actually, No, we should actually have a deadline for taking this decision. And that's
Yes.
all because February is not that far. So yeah. Oh damn, I sound like old saying that February is not that far.
Yeah, actually, is it the last meeting, a 3-0 meeting this year?
Unless one of you want to,
No.
then this will be the last meeting.
I mean,
I'm
because
happy
the next one would be between Christmas and New Year's Eve, right?
No, it would actually be
No, it's
the
21.
21th,
Yeah, 21.
Oh,
So
okay,
there
week
will
before
be one
Christmas.
more.
but it would need another coordinator for that specific meeting because I am on holiday at that time.
Oh, yeah,
That's not a
let's see.
problem. Yeah.
But if
I
you
can
want
take
to
care.
have a meeting, I can create another issue after this for the next one. There's no way.
Or you can do it, and then I'll take care of the
Nope.
meeting. I mean, you can create the issue right after the
I
meeting.
will. Yes. I'll make sure that
Nah, it's
everything is
okay,
set up for you.
I'm just joking.
No,
Yeah.
I mean it because I have some other stuff that I had to reorganize as well in the issues. So it's all good.
Mhm.
Yeah, but making decision is not so critical to push it like hard deadline in 2 weeks. I mean, nobody will work on proposals over Christmas anyways. I mean, if we say like that the deadline is February, and do we expect that all suddenly there will be a lot of pull requests and comments and pull requests?
It's
So we
just to
can-
make it clear. It's not so much that until February someone will come and add something. It's more than until June someone will come and add something, right? That's the thing. So we just need to make it clear so that between February and June nobody adds anything, right? Or I mean, they can add, but they should expect that it's not going to end up in 3-0. That's only that, right? Yeah, for sure. From here to February, like, at most, you'll get some pull requests from me, and that's it. That's it. So yeah, because other than, to be honest, like other than the breaking change stuff, what I find exciting, let's say, for people, that could be exciting for people, and other than the breaking change stuff, that can be exciting for people will be request response. This is a major thing, I will say. This is a huge one, I will say, and it's been requested, I think, since the first year of the spec.
It's actually much more interesting for people than protobuf.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, so I think getting the breaking changes alongside a really cool feature that many people will want to have, it's more than enough to release a major one, right? I don't like releasing major versions that only change stuff around, move stuff around, and doesn't provide you anything new, because that sounds like the user will be like, I don't care, you're not providing any value to me. But and I'm already used to this publish subscribe confusion, so who cares? so yeah, so that's why I want to provide some good value other than that, right? Additional value, let's say. But we already have it. I mean, it's almost done. It's almost request response is almost done. So yeah, and then we can keep releasing on every release month, as always, adding stuff,
Fixing stuff, even.
fixing stuff, basically. Yes, fixing all the mess that we created. I'm saying this because it's, and I forgot to tell why I'm proposing this. It's been long that we've been working on version 3 already. It's been probably, I don't know, I haven't counted, but more than a year now. or a year, more or less. So, yeah, people are starting to get a little bit like, in some one-on-ones that I had with you, you already communicated this frustration feeling that 3.0 is never done, right? And it's never releasing. So, and it's a little bit frustrating. So yeah, we need to take care of the users, but we also need to take care of the contributors, right? So yeah, I think it will be a really cool motivation boost between the contributors, right? That something is actually released, right? 3.0 is released, and it's like, yeah, we made it finally, right? And then we can keep adding more stuff later. So yeah, that's it. That's my part. I'm here to create troubles.
But yeah, I'm gonna create an issue for the release schedule. And I'm gonna create a separate issue, I think. And not as a comment, just to have that discussion clearly in one place. And I am gonna remove the referencing stuff and create a separate issue for that as well. And not sure what your intentions are, Magic, in terms of your issue with the.
No, I will also create a separate. Yeah. I will clarify in this pull request and create another one.
1 second about before you proceed. So we don't make decisions on meetings, right? So so that's just a suggestion. This will be proposed somewhere, right? I'm happy to leave this comment somewhere, or if you create an issue, I can leave it there. But at the same time, to be pragmatic, we're 3 spec maintainers here in the call. So we still have to propose it, right? We cannot just go ahead and surprise, we have a new decision that you never heard of, right?
Which decision?
The decision of dropping allow referencing non-JSON structures protobuf.
But it's not dropping it, it's just
dropping it from version 3. That's what I mean.
But
You were saying I'm gonna remove this from the version 3 and create a separate issue, right? You were saying that.
But we were clarifying that there's no scope, right? So there's no dropping. It's just like he removed it because he's the champion. So like if there's another champion,
dropping it from that list, because that list actually looks like a scope. So yeah, but yeah,
but like Jonas, you will write a comment, right? That
yeah, for sure. I mean, the only thing about the progress list is all about what is being worked on for me to have a clear overview of what's the progress of current issues. If something is not targeting Spec 3.0, or I know specifically that this will probably not happen for this release, then there's no reason for it to be on the list. But that doesn't mean that the progress isn't happening on the side. So all it is a temporary list that's an overview of what's being worked on. It's not a scope. It's not a. This is definitely gonna be there. It's not.
So when you were saying that you're gonna remove it and create a separate issue, like remove it from where then?
I'm gonna remove it from the list of progress because there are no reason to have it there, as it just creates clutter, as we already now probably. Most likely this will not happen in 3.0. Unless some magic progress all of a sudden happen and we all agree all of a sudden, but I don't think that will happen. So that's why, and I'm gonna leave a comment as well in the end.
Okay.
I also.
And magic, this one about schema other than the default one. So
I can leave the comment with clarification and maybe wait 1 month. Yes, maybe someone from community want to
If
know.
well,
We'll have some use cases that we can, for example, only add this possibility to define schemas on the root, but we can drop it. Yeah. So yeah.
or
Mhm.
yeah, or no, I was just thinking that if we make it clear that we're not promoting cross-reference and
Mhm.
nesting different kinds of schemas, I think that's actually fine. Like Jonah said, it's nothing new. So making it super clear in the spec that this is not supported, this is not allowed, which will actually improve the current spec, because as Jonah said, it's already possible.
Mhm.
So actually in the current spec, we should have said that this is not allowed. Right? But I guess it's kind of like clear, right? Like, because the resulting object will not be valid Abro or valid JSON schema
Yeah.
or valid whatever. It will be a mix, so it will not be valid. So, well, yeah. No, we don't. Yeah. No, actually, I'm thinking that we don't have this problem now, right? Because the only place where you can have schema format is on the payload.
On message, not on the payload.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, for the payload, that's what I mean.
Mhm.
So you cannot have schema format inside the payload definition. So you cannot nest stuff.
Yeah, I cannot.
But there's nothing that enforces it. So if you reference something in an external file that reference something else in a different form.
But then you have an invalid.
Yeah, exactly.
Have an invalid definition. If your schema format has Avro,
Right, yeah, you're right.
and you end up with an invalid Avro file.
Yeah.
What Maciek was proposing is that inside the schema you propose like now this $ref is pointing to an Avro or to a JSON schema, and then you end up with a feature that people will expect to work. But it shouldn't, right? Probably. So yeah, if we make it clear that this is not possible, that we don't allow this kind of intermixing of schema formats and nesting.
But we can add this
That will
supporting
actually be
component
easy.
schemas. Yeah.
That will actually be an easy issue, an easy pull request. It's not that hard, right?
Yep.
Also, I remember specifically about that. You were, I think you were adding something like schema format, or with another name, I don't remember. At the schema level, right?
Yeah.
But the schema, in JSON schema, we can take the leadership here. Let's say we have a JSON schema and we added 3 new properties. We can add a 4th one if we want. Schema format, right? That's completely fine. But if the schema that I'm using is Avro, I cannot add an additional one, right? Because we're not augmenting Avro, we're augmenting just JSON schema. So you could reference from JSON schema to an Avro file, but not the other way around. Right. So yeah.
But at the end you have the invalid schema, yeah. So
yes, exactly. I mean, no, it's not that you have an invalid schema. It's that you can.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
do
Yeah.
it. You don't have the schema
keyword,
format property on Avro because
yeah.
we're not adding an additional property to Avro, right?
But
So,
maybe the schema object should have 2 fields: the schema format optional and the schema. And inside you exactly need to define schema. I mean Avro or JSON schema. Yeah.
my personal opinion, this is like it's probably not even needed. Right? That it's probably just. I mean, schemas. So having the schema format and the schema definition inside components. Let's say like
it will be problematic.
On the root, let's say that's completely fine. Let's say.
No. In component schemas, it will be problematic because you can, for example, divide JSON schemas to separate ones and then make the reference. So you will have to make the reference component schema something schema.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's
what
the
I mean
problem.
is that having the schema format at that level, it's completely fine, as long as we make it clear that you cannot nest schema formats and so on, right?
I
So
can't
if we-
remember, Magic, did you consider parameters as well? How it would play together there?
Yeah, it's also the problematic. I didn't consider that.
Because if you allow a schema to be referenced from parameters, can you define a parameter with Avro? I don't know. It's a question.
It's not allowed with the spec.
Yeah, even the headers you can then
The
also
headers.
define by the Avro. Yeah.
Yeah. So anything
So
that's
at the
a
moment
schema-
you only need you can only define the custom schemas for payloads. So maybe we should drop it and only allow to define, this Avro in separate files, and that's it, or in line in the message object, as now we have.
I'll give it a thought and I'll come up with a proposal myself on this issue as well. Because I think there must be a way to make it clear that I want to have Avro definitions in my file, but yeah, but these
I
are not-
remember, I remember one guy from community want to add something like that. I mean, Avro in components.
Mhm.
But the problem that in the JSON schema we forced to use the JSON schemas. So it means that in the payload is exactly the any type, so you can even write the string, but yeah, in the components schemas you need to define it as the object. So I don't remember, me or Jonas suggest to create the extension in components, like the X Avro schemas, and inside it define the Avro schemas and make the reference to the payload.
I was actually thinking about how many alternative schemas do we have that people will want to put there?
At the moment, we support 3, but we have this
It's unlimited in
yeah,
basics.
issues for protobuf and I don't
XSD.
remember XML, so yeah, XSD.
Yeah, but we don't support protobuf and
Yeah.
access.
But at the moment, only 3, yeah, custom Avro, RAM, and Open API.
Avro, well,
And
I would say
different JSON schema
all the
versions.
JSON schema versions, maybe,
Yeah.
or yeah, and so, but let's say JSON schema,
And
Avro.
RAM data types.
And RAML data types, which I'm not sure. I would like to hear from someone that's using it, but I actually don't think many people are using it. Maybe some people at MuleSoft, of course. So wouldn't it make more sense if they are just components, Avros or Avro schemas, components, JSON schemas, whatever, something like that. And then we have schemas, Avro schemas, and JSON schemas, for instance. And then JSON schemas will contain inside the version of the JSON schema. Or actually, it doesn't need it because JSON schemas have the dollar schema stuff that, yeah, so it's not even needed. Avro will probably need the version somewhere there. And schemas will be our schema object, right? And then parameters, headers, and all this stuff will be our schema object. And the others will be just whatever you prefer. Like, for instance, in the payload definition will be whatever you want, probably an Avro schema or a JSON schema, and that's it. And we still make clear that you cannot nest things, of course. It's a little bit more manual, but to be honest, like I don't think that we will have many schema types, at least for now, right?
But in theory, let's say that a company has their own schema format. for whatever reason.
They can use a schema, an extension,
Right.
if it's custom.
Yeah.
That's what it is
True.
for. Right, so
But like for now, Spec says that you can use anything, not by extensions, just to make it clear.
Oh, it's
Or-
just to have it in one file. Then you can always default to having it inside an extension, the format itself or the reference.
you mean the payload can be any? That's what you mean?
Yeah.
Look at
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
the
whatever
best-
schema,
Yeah,
you can use
that's-
whatever
that-
schema you want.
that is a misdefinition, let's say, because it is like this because yeah, it's the responsibility of the parser to understand if this is supported or not. So that's completely fine. I mean, I think that's open to that. And then you can reference to some weird kind of schema language that you might have in your company, as long as you have a schema parser registered with the parser that understands it. That's up to you. You can even use protobuf if you have a protobuf parser, schema parser. So
All right, 5 minutes to go. Any last remarks?
Just when you create the issue with proposal of like explanation of 3.0 release, that there's no scope, or there's proposed deadline, when it could happen, etc., then send me a link. I'll share it on social medias. So
yeah,
for better reach.
let's share it as much as we can.
Will do.
And I think with this, we'll be happier. We'll feel more relief, right? That we can finally release it. We can start adapting to the new world, right? And then slowly or constantly iterating on that new world instead of forever waiting for the perfect world to arrive, right? So
Yes.
yeah,
That's true.
we can release version 3, but we don't. I mean, people don't have to migrate immediately. People will not actually. So, but that's completely fine. We should expect a few years until people actually start massively migrating to version 3.
Technically, we should expect that they will always stay on the same version unless they have something.
Exactly. That's why I always want to add a new cool feature that will be on the new major version, but not on the old one, so that they feel encouraged to migrate.
That
And
did
request
not
response
encourage
is one of-
many Swagger users to migrate to OpenAPI.
Huh?
That approach did not encourage many Swagger users to migrate to OpenAPI, just to want to make sure that you don't have high expectations about,
No,
that
I'm
new
saying- no,
features
I'm-
will attract people.
No. What I'm saying, but I mean, from Swagger to OpenAPI, there was almost no change.
Oh,
That's
come on!
the-
Like
that-
servers were not in Swagger, right?
Of course they were.
You
It was just from Swagger to OpenAPI 3, which is just a rename. It was mostly just a rename. I think they added not webhooks but callbacks. That's the only thing they added. Something like that.
And rename the models to schemas, as I remember.
Yeah, only a few changes here and there, but nothing really major. And that's precisely where I'm trying to avoid.
But we have the converter, yes. So
I don't
That's
see servers there in Swagger. There's just host information, but nothing about security, nothing like this.
There is. I was using Swagger 2 with servers and everything. Yeah.
you
Okay, security definition. Okay.
you
I mean, maybe
probably
it's
have
even called
security,
servers,
but on the root, not on
but-
the server level.
You could have host and security stuff, but I don't remember how.
Probably on
about
the root
time.
level, as I remember. Everyone search for Swagger security.
We're all here now checking. Yeah, you had host. Well, you could only have one. And security definitions, of course.
Yeah, so it
Yeah.
was
So
pretty
it-
limited.
Yeah,
I
but
would
it's
say a lot.
but it was like the majority of people are not having a problem with this. Like it was just like I'm defining my production API, right? So I don't care, because most people were using it for generating docs. So you were not using Swagger to generate code, local code or anything. You were using it to generate docs, production docs. So there was only just one URL, right? So that's why it was like pretty much what you needed, right? You didn't need much. So, and that's why many people are not migrating still, right? Still nowadays, because there were no major changes, as major as in user value, right? Because they had one major change on 3.1, which is aligning with JSON schema, right? So schema object is a pure JSON schema object. That's a huge one, but it's a huge one as in the amount of change. But again, it's probably not providing any value to the user, because users are fine with draft 4 or whatever. It's just more than enough for them.
Isn't the reason also that when I Google documenting REST APIs, one of top results is Swagger actually? And new people that come, they basically think that's still a standard.
Can be, yeah.
Someone has some very large words to say about that, I think.
So yeah, the more we encourage with new features to users, something that is useful for users on version 3, 3.x, right? Not just a 3.0. The more people that will feel encouraged to migrate, right? Otherwise, it's like, yeah, you guys made a good job now that it's easier for you to create tooling and to do stuff, but it's still the same for me.
All right, let's wrap it up. I think we're out of time. Any last remarks?
Yeah. Like more funny stuff when you really Google documenting REST APIs, like articles like there's 6 tips on documenting REST APIs, 5 tips, whatever. None of them mentions Open API. And the only example of screenshot was of old Swagger. Cool stuff. Cool stuff. Anyways, that's it from my side.
All right.
So yeah.
Thank you all for joining, and see you next time. And if not, happy holidays.
Yeah.
And you too. Yeah.
Enjoy. Bye-bye.
Bye.